Good evening. Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to react to what is moments away from officially being an Alabama first round playoff win in Norman. Our channel, of course, presented by FanDuel. Chase, I'm just going to start with this. It's a text I got from an Alabama friend of mine a few minutes ago. I'm just going to read it verbatim. And there's some lessons to learn here. My friend, who will remain nameless, says, I'm ashamed to say I quit watching at 17-0. I started watching at halftime after my neighbor was blowing my phone up. It is inexplicable to have that much talent and turn it on and off like a faucet, especially on the road. That's one way to look at it. And boy, I'm sure Oklahoma fans have got their version of that. But hey, hats off to Alabama going on the road. Last we saw the Tide, that offense was shaky. Parts of the team were shaky. Tonight, for the last 37 minutes of the game, it was the Sooners who were shaky, and Alabama that looked more like the team that we thought had a shot to win it all. The Alabama was my preseason pick to win it all before the year. Not going to say I've been defending that one a lot lately, but the point would be there's a lot of talent there. When you have talent, stuff is possible, and the Crimson Tide got a very memorable playoff win. And oh, by the way, let's not forget, Chase, road teams didn't exactly kill it in this spot a year ago.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. To start this game, Chris, it kind of looked like a carryover of what we saw Alabama in the SEC championship. The way the offense was playing, Oklahoma was getting around the defense, no problem. And so I thought, okay, like it's a carryover. It's what we saw against Georgia, but a switch was flipped for Alabama in that second quarter, and boy, did they take off from there. Really impressive. Really impressed by Alabama tonight. What we saw post first quarter, and again, even when Oklahoma got back into it, Alabama made a big play. They needed to get back ahead. Truly impressed by what Alabama was able to do and how they were able to do it. I felt like Ty Simpson was able to get back into a groove tonight. And I think that's going to be big moving forward for Alabama, but just really impressed by the way Alabama handled themselves in that game.
Yeah, a few thoughts here, just some themes I had across the top, and then I've got some notes on some big moments in the game that we'll go over later. Before we do that, reminder, you can always jump in the chat. We really appreciate your super chats. That helps keep us live here. And best way to support the channel are those, and also memberships. You can join our membership tier for as low as $3.99 a month. Also, while you're here, remember to hit the like button. That helps our analytics. Again, helps us get paid, those kind of things. But some things that I took, just 2 or 3 big notes that I thought were the bigger takeaways. It was the reverse, and you kind of said this, of the first game where Oklahoma dominated the stat sheet and won the game with Alabama mistakes. Oklahoma in the first half, 236-100 total offense. The score was 17, tied at 17 because Oklahoma got 17 points in the final, 6:56 of the first half, thanks to a pick six. Gosh, I think there was a block punt in there. The drop snap of that block punt was the turning point of the game. To that, Oklahoma's special teams were horrible. I think we circled special teams as a point of emphasis in this game. Boy, were they. Just not the way we thought. Alabama had been awful on special teams. Tonight, Oklahoma, which I believe had the first-team punter and first-team kicker in the SEC this year, the punter was awful all night, and Tate Sandell, who had been money, had not missed a kick since, week 1, week 2? Oklahoma's fighting last shot was Sandell had a field goal, very makeable one. And I don't know if it was good or not, with my life depending on it, but it was ruled no good. I thought it was no good when I watched it. I don't know why we don't have lasers in the uprights when the ball goes above the upright. Could maybe help us out there, but we don't. Anyway, Tate Sandell misses that field goal. At that point, the game was pretty much over. Actually, OU got one more crack at it. He missed another field goal. So I think that was a big thing. But hey, Alabama down 17. Ty Simpson looked kind of rattled early. He and that receiving core really, really rallied. Alabama found a running game in spots. And the offense, Chase, that I thought, in fact, I said it in the preview, I think 2 weeks off for Alabama could be the best thing that could happen to this team. You could get your guys a little healthier. They got back their pass-catching tight end Cuevas tonight. They got their starting running back together. The backup Hill was really good. I think a couple of weeks off was just what Alabama needed. Alabama did not let it get to it. The environment was electric and took care of business in the end, won it going away.
Yeah, the environment was crazy, and that's something just as I've been thinking about this game and as we've talked about it, that Alabama really needed to take the crowd out of it early, and they didn't. They kept the crowd in it through that first quarter, but Alabama was able to settle down and Alabama's been good on the road this year. They were able to settle the crowd down, settle themselves down, and kind of get into a rhythm. But you're right on getting guys back. That was huge. Obviously, to have Jam Miller back. Josh Cuevas made some key catches from Ty Simpson. So to have him back was also a big deal. So yeah, Alabama being able to rest up, having time to game plan. Kalen DeBoer is really good at game planning when he has some extra time, and he had that again. Credit Oklahoma the way they came out. They just couldn't sustain that. And we saw a version of Oklahoma's offense that we haven't seen in a while in the start of the game tonight. But Alabama, they never let the moment get too big. Even down 17-0, they were able to stay in it. They didn't let it get out of hand. They stayed focused, made some incredible plays along the way to get there. But having that time off, to get some guys back was crucial.
If you're picking an MVP for tonight, who are you taking? Or we can wait if you want to. But I'm just curious because there were really 3 or 4 guys that I singled out as guys that just had big, big nights for Alabama.
Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to.
I know one, and that's Brooks.
Yeah, that was where my head went first. Their receiving room tonight was really good.
Yeah.
Ryan Williams kind of, again, a no-show. And Bernard had an inexplicable drop. Other than that, the catch Bernard made, that was Ty Prothro-like. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not quite. The Prothro catch is, I think, the best catch I've ever seen at any level. But that was incredible. I mean, the body control, the concentration, bringing it in. Those guys really helped out their quarterback tonight.
No, they really did. And Brooks has not caught a touchdown pass all year, and he caught 2 tonight. Yeah. And I thought that was a shining moment for him. Those 2 catches to have him really step up and when Alabama needed somebody, it was him to go to. Broke some tackles, score that first touchdown. Football is a game of momentum. I like to say that, and just watching games, you can see sometimes it just takes a score. It takes one score from a team who's down, and now they got a little mojo. They got a little confidence, and I feel like that's what we saw from Alabama. That Brooks touchdown really lit the spark for Alabama, and they were able to mount that comeback and take off from there. So I feel like that was the turning point, the turning moment of the game for Alabama. So Brooks is the MVP for me for this game.
Yeah, I think Xavier Brown would be another guy I'd have in consideration. He had the pick 6 that I think to me that may have that or the drop punt. Were the biggest plays of the game. Who was it? Was it Tim Keenan that got credit for the block on that one? Gosh, I want to see what Brooks's line. I mean, Brooks almost had a fumble recovery late that would have sealed it. They called it an incomplete pass on the field. So there was that. Sabian Brown's what I meant to say. Maybe that is what I said. Okay, Brown ended up with 3 solo tackles, 1 interception, 1 breakup. He would be on the list of candidates. Really, you could kind of give a game ball to that whole front 7. I mean, Deontay Lawson was terrific. Justin Jefferson was really good pretty early when I didn't think anybody else showed up as much for Alabama. They ended up with 5 sacks, just spread across the board. I think they just brought guys from all over, and really the second half just overwhelmed Oklahoma's offensive front.
Yeah, they really did. And I thought, defensively for Alabama, this was a group that we've seen get a lot better as the season's gone on. But the pressure, and Kane Womack did a fantastic job of mixing things up, of changing the looks, of applying pressure at times to Mateer, and really making him fold at times. So
yeah,
I thought the play calling and the design from Alabama's defense and the pressure they applied when they applied it, I think, is key as well for Alabama being able to stifle Oklahoma. And again, what was a great offensive start for Oklahoma to start off the game, the defense stayed their ground, they played their game, and Kane Womack, tip of the hat to him, because he called a great game for the Alabama defense.
Yeah, this is a box score ended up being misleading type of game.
Yeah,
Oklahoma outgained Alabama 362 to 260. Most of that came in the first half. Yeah, 126 in the second half, I think, would be the total. Alabama only had 12 first downs. But again, it was the big plays at the right time. Turnovers tonight was what was it? 1-0? One apiece. Last time Alabama was what, -2, -3?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. But I mean, really, just so much of this was special teams. It really was. I mean, so many points resulted either not going on the board or, given a good possession. I mean, heck, Alabama had another drive where it got a field goal the second half where they shanked a punt out of the end zone.
Yeah.
And was Jeremy Bernard fielded it kind of unexpectedly? He wasn't even the return guy. Like it was plays in spots. And this time it was Alabama that made them rather than Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that's what Alabama had to do going into this game. They had to protect the football, and they needed to make some big plays, and they did. They took advantage of mistakes, and that's the first time they played. Oklahoma really didn't make many mistakes. It was Alabama that did that, like you mentioned, with the turnovers. But Alabama was able to take advantage of mistakes by Oklahoma, by costly penalties by Oklahoma, and be able to get that win. It's huge for Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, it sure is. And by the way, I was hearing earlier that, like, if DeBoer lost that game, he was going to get offered the Michigan job and maybe take it. And I wouldn't have blamed him. The night before the game, I was talking to somebody that's kind of dialed in there, and he said, that's not – first of all, he's probably going to get offered the job. If he loses, he's probably not going to take it. They said he's got the support of the AD and the president there. They're more in on him than the fans are. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Let's talk Oklahoma a minute. What did you make from the Sooners tonight? I mean, there was a lot of good stuff for the first 24 minutes, and then it just all kind of came crashing down. Defense did give them some moments in the second half. Taylor Wine had a big play or two, big sack or two of Simpson. When it felt like Alabama was going to run away with it, they had some answers there. I thought Mateer and his receivers, especially Deion Burks, that's a name. Yeah. I feel like last summer you and I talked Deion Burks a lot.
We did.
I don't know. We talked about Deion Burks for 5 seconds this season. He was big for them. I thought we kind of got rope-a-doped into this whole Mateer is not well. I mean, it's been half the pregame talking about how he just didn't like the guys out there zipping balls around left. Now, a couple got away from him. I'm not going to say that it didn't show up in other places, but the whole thing about Mateer not being healthy to me felt like an overbaked thing coming into this one.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt, and you're right. I mean, it may have been over half the pregame that they spent on John Mateer's thumb and hand. It was, but I thought that what we saw in that first quarter from Oklahoma's offense, and even throughout the game, not just first, he was hitting passes, he was hitting his target some later on as well, and to really at good moments. But that is what I thought we would be seeing from John Mateer and this Oklahoma offense all season long. I mean, they were wearing Alabama out on the sideline. Those catches on the sideline, across the middle of the field, like he was hitting his targets. They were really good passes. They were sharp. They were clean. And I was like, okay, this is what I thought we would see from John Mateer from August to now. Like, but it's been so inconsistent. And then we kind of saw it drop off, and they applying a lot of pressure to him, and he was running for his life. But what we saw, especially at the start of the game from John Mateer, is kind of what I expected from him to see all season long, before injury and after injury.
Yeah. Well, and tonight, 19 carries for 15 yards. Like, you knew that Alabama needed to rein that in. What did you think Alabama did really well to just keep him contained there?
Yeah, I think that they used, and Kirk Herbstreit pointed this out a couple of times if you watched the broadcast, of Alabama was using their linebackers to bring pressure, and that really caused John Mateer to have to think a little bit more, because maybe he didn't see them coming at the start, and so they were able to apply pressure that way. And I thought that was really creative by Alabama defensively to do that, to get some pressure on him, because they weren't at the beginning. There was no pressure on John Mateer, and he was getting those passes off. He was able to run some, but they dialed up the pressure, bringing in those linebackers, bringing in the guys in the secondary, mixing things up, and I thought that was a great decision by Alabama to contain John Mateer, because again, he had a great start.
Give me another storyline or two that maybe we need to cover in this. I do want to ask you some takeaways for both programs, kind of as Oklahoma ends the season and Alabama gets new life in it with a trip to Indiana. Before we do that, reminder, we are brought to you by a few people, one of whom is our friends at the Yearly Company. If you've not done your Christmas shopping yet, what are you waiting for? Yearly Company is a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning, each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before you order. That is where the sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT, KIT, gets you 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Help those who help the show. That also includes our friends at ROKFORM, ROKFORM. For those of you listening, they make the world's strongest magnetic phone case. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting. You can get 25% off with promo code SEC25. They make my phone case. I bought the vent clip for my car. That is a fantastic setup to keep your phone in front of you on the road. Get that. Thank me later. You'll love their stuff too. All right, Chase, give me a couple of things that maybe we didn't get into on this one that are worth a mention.
I think just kind of on big picture is confidence. That's something that maybe this Alabama team was lacking for one reason or another. But after a game like tonight, you get that confidence. And again, maybe you needed that touchdown from Brooks, that pick six, to kind of get things going back in the right direction, to get you some momentum, to get you some confidence. But I feel like we saw Ty Simpson and lead well in this game. We saw players step up who needed to step up. Brooks, for example, But I think all the way around, the Alabama team looked more confident and in control than we've seen the last few weeks. But then also, Chris, another takeaway, I and I've seen some people put this in the chat: the dropped balls. And
Yeah.
we can talk about this more than just this game. I've seen a lot of college football games this season, and there's been a lot of drop balls. But there's a lot of drop balls tonight, and some important ones for both teams. But
Yeah.
that the Jeremy Bernard drop by Alabama was, I mean, he was wide open and dropped it. But that's something else for both teams that definitely could have changed things. Was some drop balls.
That's a good point. I've got a bunch of notes and I'm looking back on it now, just like all the mistakes both teams made. I mean, Simpson just didn't set his feet early in that game, just looked uncomfortable. Mateer missed a first quarter touchdown. I don't remember who the guy was. I think somebody else dropped the potential touchdown there. Bama shanked a punt early too, by the way. Bama's special teams weren't great all night, although they were much better than Oklahoma's. The drop snap that was the blocked punt, the pick six. And then Alabama, just when Alabama gets the momentum tonight, there was that weird penalty where somebody got in the way of an official. I'm still not sure I quite saw it, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was like it was a weird game. That was one thing that's just kind of lost in it. And then Oklahoma, it was just kind of a comedy of errors for the Sooners from that point on with the missed field goals and everything. But I did think on the positive, people are going to look at the score. 34-24 was not indicative of the way the defenses played. Yeah. Both these teams have so much speed and ability to get out the passer in the front seven. I wonder how many guys we saw tonight on the field on both teams' front sevens they're going to see playing multiple years in the league.
Yeah, a high number. Yeah, that's for sure, and a good observation there. But yeah, they were very impressive on both sides.
Yeah. Thank you for Parley Row. That like button does help us a lot. Helps her. If you don't like it, don't hit the like button. I'm not asking you to do something you don't want to do, but if you do, that does help us. We do football, baseball, and basketball year round at the channel. If they're new to us here, so yeah, that I think the other thing too, one of the carrying things going forward, is I think Ty Simpson in that passing game have to have found more confidence heading into Indiana. You just needed a game like that to kind of reset your season. It didn't go well. Now hey, we can go on the road. We can watch it all fall apart, and we're still good enough to win it. If I'm Alabama, that is what I'm taking away from tonight.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And, and when the run game doesn't work, Alabama's got a really good pass game. Like we mentioned, the receivers were great today. So yeah, you stick with what you stick with what you can do well. And I think Alabama needs to do that and throw in the run game some as well. But Ty Simpson looked good tonight. They got that confidence back with his receivers. I felt like they were on the same page tonight. We haven't seen that last couple games out. So yeah, I think that tonight could be a big turning point for Alabama.
I know we ask this after every Alabama game. What in the world do you do to fix the running game? I mean, you did have, if you're looking for a bright spot, you did have success in a very few spots. You needed that touchdown out of Jam Miller when he had it at the 5 after that just unbelievable catch by Jeremy Bernard, and you got that. So you had that. But, and I thought, you had the 30-yard run from Hill. He had a couple of good ones, but on the night, 23 for 28. Now you take sacks out of that. It's 19 for 50. So it's not as bad, but come on. I mean, that's not Alabama football when your sack adjusted rush yards are under 3 a pop, I guess it would have been. Now you're facing Oklahoma, and those guys did it to everybody, but you're going to Indiana next week, and their defense was pretty darn good too. So I don't know what you do here. I've got a thought I want to throw at you when I hear yours, but I'm just curious. Like, is this fixable?
And I don't know. I really don't know if it is or not. Obviously, it hasn't been great all season, and I thought Daniel Hill had some flashy moments. Like you can tell he's a big strong runner. You just got to see more out of him. And I think the offensive line has something to do with that as well. It's been one of the worst position groups on the field for Alabama. So I think that's a part of that. But as far as fixing it, I'm really not sure what you do at this point.
Yeah. There was one thing I saw tonight, and it was, I think, a 3rd and 5, and Simpson took off and got about like 13. Big
Yeah.
conversion for them. I want to say maybe early second half. Ty Simpson was a guy that could run the ball. I think I remember seeing him get I don't know, a 60 or 70 yarder in a game last year, maybe. It might have been against a 1AA. I guess they call them FBS teams now. But still, I mean, he's got some athleticism. Maybe this just isn't the system or it's not the design, but like, don't you have to have something that can get you some yards? And like maybe if Simpson's been banged up, you really don't want to do it. I get it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. You've got to, like, if you're going to go any further in this event, you've got to push a different button somewhere. For the life of me, I don't know what it was. If I did, I'd be coaching football, but
Yeah.
just asking that one out loud.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, observation. Yeah, and I really don't know. I don't know what the recipe is and needs to be. They can't be one dimensional though moving forward, and that's where they're gonna have to be creative somehow. I don't know what that is. I'm not an offensive coordinator, um, but they're gonna have to get creative somehow.
Yeah. All right. Let's do Oklahoma. Last game of the year for the Sooners. Look, I know Oklahoma looked awful the last 37 minutes of the game. Oklahoma did not always look like a playoff team. Oklahoma beat enough teams to deserve to be here. By the way, same thing with Alabama. Alabama's been the dog that everybody's kicked. And I get it, but Alabama beat some dudes this year. And you know what you do on the field, beating teams, we play the games for a reason. Wins have to matter, even if you may not look the part at the end, which also might sometimes have to do with the defenses you play in this league. But where do you go from here if you're Oklahoma? The defense is terrific. I got to think Venables is going to be putting out great defenses year after year, as
Yeah,
long as he's at OU. But the
yeah.
offense, man, I've got some questions and I want to hear your thoughts because I wonder if yours are the same as mine. And I don't want to. I want to hear what your take is before I tell you mine.
Um, yeah, obviously, things have got to change offensively, and I was underwhelmed with Ben Arbuckle this season. Um, Especially the way him and Mateer have worked together in the past. And maybe I'm putting too much on him, but the way this offense has performed, and I thought Oklahoma had a great offensive game plan going into tonight. I was really impressed with Arbuckle because I haven't been all season. And the way that he was calling plays to start. Um, Past that, I'm not sure. But things have got to change offensively, and they need consistency in the quarterback position, which they did not get this year. And I'm not sure past that.
I felt like when you watch them the second half of the season, it was either Isaac Satania makes a big play for them or they had nothing most of the
Yeah,
time. I mean, that had some bright spots every now and then. Xavier Robinson every now and then would show up, or somebody like, and we've talked about Deion Burks. I mean, we both thought Deion Burks was going to be all world.
Right.
I wonder, like, is there something? Again, if I knew the answer, I'd be coaching. But like, I watch Vanderbilt's offense and what Tim Beck does, and I don't know that Vanderbilt's got better athletes than Oklahoma. Do you have to do more of something where you get Burks the ball on an end around or jet sweeps or something just to mix it up and give you a different look? Because first of all, the other thing I'm looking at too is like what's in the water there in camp or with your training, because you're getting more linemen hurt.
Yeah.
Before you even get into mid-September. That's 2 years running now that you got big time guys that are supposed to be your dudes that just don't play all season because they get hurt. Like, I think those are two things that I'm digging into. I'm looking at what can we do to tweak the playbook a little bit, and what do we do? Is there something wrong with how we're training our guys? And maybe it's just dumb luck, because like I feel like defensive linemen, they've got a better track record to keeping those guys healthy. But offensive line, 2 years in a row where you just have mass casualties before the thing even gets out of the harbor.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's an interesting point, Chris.
The other thing I would say, I'm just wondering if John Mateer is my guy. I mean, I guess you ride with it. It's not like there's a. I mean, you miss with portal quarterbacks all the time. Look at Kentucky's misses the last few years. There's teams every year that get hamstrung because their dude wasn't the dude they thought they were getting out of the portal. But I remember looking when everybody was going nuts about John Mateer and said, look, I don't know. Maybe he's the next guy. 3 weeks through the season, he was the Heisman favorite. And maybe injury doesn't happen. Maybe he gets back to that. And times tonight he threw the ball well. But there were times that he just overthrew guys. I don't know if that's the injury, if that's the ball just getting a hair loose when you're letting it go. I don't know what it is, but I looked, and like at Washington State, they weren't exactly playing an SEC schedule week in, week out. And that's not their fault. The conference fell apart. It was what it was. But you looked at the better games he played, and his stat lines were more, normal than spectacular.
Yeah.
The TD to interception ratio wasn't very good this year. Is that you went all in on the guy, and I guess you have to try it again. But I just wonder, is the ceiling what everyone thought it was?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'll be interested to see what they do with that if they go explore the portal again for a quarterback. But yeah, I mean, the inconsistency was the problem, and yeah, he had a great start to the year, and he had the injury, but we never saw the same quarterback that we did at the beginning of the season, and that's a problem. No matter what he was battling or growing through, like they were stuck in a situation where they had an inconsistent quarterback.
Yeah. No, defensively, I'm going, hey, we've got that figured out.
Yeah.
Because they lost their two biggest stars, Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman. And it was not a star-studded, like, household name group. Now, people know the names now. Taylor Wine was terrific. Everybody knows R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah.
That had excuse me, I say it's Billy Bowman. I don't know if I said Bowen. They got the Bowen brothers this year, and they had Bowman last year. Anyway, just making sure I said it right because I'm not sure I did. But anyway, point being, you're reloaded with different guys. Your defense was probably the best in the league. I feel like they're going to be able to repeat. I don't know how many of those guys are coming back, but I think that that's where you hang your hat on. You're like, hey, I think we got this. It's just, can we get this other part right?
Yeah, and defense is solid, like you said. Brent Venables is a extraordinary defensive mind, and so I think as long as he is coaching that football team, they're going to have a good defense because he's put them in a position to be successful because he's a great play caller. He sees things very well defensively.
Yeah. Parting thoughts, Chase.
Look, Alabama's got the confidence. They got the mojo after this one. I'll be interested to kind of dive in more. I know we'll preview and predict Alabama, Indiana next week, but I'll be interested to dive into researching that one because it's fascinating to me. But Alabama's got some confidence that they're going to be taking out to Pasadena with them.
Yeah, it does. Going to be a tough one, but I think Alabama has to feel like it has a shot, especially after Indiana's offense didn't exactly light up the scoreboard against Ohio State.
Yeah,
there'll be that. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening. We really enjoy having you guys here. We do football, baseball, basketball year-round. Please leave us a thumbs up. Consider joining our membership tier. Anyway, congratulations to Alabama on advancing to face Indiana. Congratulations to Oklahoma on a really, really good season. Really good season. You had some things that didn't go your way. Didn't always look pretty, but you beat a lot of really good teams. It makes it a good year. All right. We will be back tomorrow to talk about the other college football playoff games. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Have a fantastic weekend. And thank you for watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.